Yeah, welcome back. For some time now, the SportsMax Zone has been concerned about the performance of the West Indies women's team. From the high watermark of winning the T20 World Cup in 2016, the Windies women now look a shadow of that all-conquering team. Some individual players whose contributions made the Windies a dangerous proposition for the best teams in the women's game have seemingly stalled in their progress. Among those who fall into this category is 22-year-old Barbadian all-rounder Hayley Matthews. Matthews, shaped like a world beater in her first 3 or 4 years with the Windies, but has seemingly been bitten by the inconsistency bug that is seemingly ravaging the team. Is that judgment harsh? Well, let's turn to the numbers. In her first 3 years, these were the numbers logged by Matthews in T20 cricket. 2014-2016, so 2014, 2015, 2016. 5 games in her first year, 25 runs, a highest score of 14. Batting average 5, she took 4 wickets. 2015, 5 games, 53 runs, high score of 32. Batting average 13.25, 6 wickets. 2016, 12 matches, 270 runs, 66 her best score, 22.5 her batting average, and she took 10 wickets in 2016. At the start of her career, this is how she performed in ODI cricket. So 3 wickets in her first year, 13 wickets in her second year, 10 in her third year. 2016 is when she played most games in ODI cricket, and she passed 200 twice, 241 runs from 4 matches in 2014. That was impressive at an average of 60.25, highest score of 89, and 14.37 her average in 2015, 19 in 2016. This is her T20 record since 2017. We're going to group them all back for you, but we're just doing them like this for now. So between 2017 and now, 2017, 3 matches, batting average 23.66. She took 7 wickets. 11 wickets in 2018, scoring 304 runs, highest score of 70. Then her one and only century in T20 cricket came in 2019. So 107 out of a tally, an aggregate of 199 runs, 9 matches, average of 24, 7 wickets, and in 2020 so far from 4 games, she has 3 wickets. She's made 29 runs in 2020 with a highest score of 16 and an average of 7.25, and this is her ODI record since 2018. 16.5 her average this year, 10 wickets, 2 wickets in 2018, 7 wickets in 2017. So these are her numbers. Now, the importance of putting the numbers out is to just look at what Hayley Matthews has produced. It is, of course, it would be sensible to compare it to what the top players from the top teams in world cricket, where the women are concerned, are doing. But even in a vacuum, the numbers paint a clear picture of what one of our best players, and believe it or not, those numbers are for one of our best players, what that means for Hayley Matthews as an individual contributing to the West Indies, and about the quality of the West Indies team as a collective. To talk about Hayley Matthews and how her career seemingly has stayed in one place since her emergence is that man of international cricket and many other things where journalism is concerned, Fazeer Mohammed. Fazeer, are you there?
Yes, I'm George. I am here ready to hear what you have to say.
There you go. So, Fazeer, we've had this concern about Hayley Matthews for a while, and we said, all right, let's look into her numbers. And the numbers are not pretty. And for me, the point of indictment about Hayley Matthews' numbers is this: she is one of the stars of the team. She is one of those who anybody would say, well, name the West Indies match winners: Taylor, Dottin, and Hayley Matthews. You get those 3 almost every time. And yet, one of our match winners, someone who has so much talent, someone who played for Barbados at age 11, as a teenager, dominated in a T20 World Cup and won that World Cup final for us, someone who appeared set to take world cricket by storm, has not trained on. What has happened? Is it down to the athlete herself? Is it the environment that Cricket West Indies has created around her in the international setup? Does it go back to what's happening in Barbados with her? The leagues that she has gone to, the Big Bash, and the nurturing that she has gotten there? What has gotten in the way of a talent flowering? What has caused that talent to stagnate? I call on your wisdom.
Well, I suppose, George, it's a combination of a lot of the issues that you raise. And if that sounds like a non-answer, It's only because it's difficult sometimes to just simply pinpoint one issue. Because while it might appear to be picking on Hayley Matthews, you're right. You're talking about someone in an environment where the West Indies have never had the luxury of an abundance of stars. If you really look at our women's game, which has suffered for a lack of resources for a long, long time, which has found itself struggling in many different areas, yet they won that world title famously on that night in 2016 in April, and the men followed up so dramatically afterwards. And as you mentioned, Hayley Matthews was the star of that run chase. Something has gone fundamentally wrong, whether it's impacted on her personally, but it's clearly impacted on the entire team. Because yesterday's loss, which was again, not surprising, but dispiriting and disappointing in the manner in which they were really uncompetitive in chasing 164. Because at the end of it all, the West Indies, over the last 15 T20 internationals, have won just one. That was against Thailand earlier this year in the World T20 in Australia. They've lost 12, 2 were abandoned, and with the exception of a 5-run loss to India last year in the Caribbean, those losses really haven't been close. So yes, it's right that you point out the shortcomings of a Hayley Matthews because of her seniority and her experience and the length of time she's been in the squad. But there's clearly something fundamentally wrong in the West Indies women's makeup right now that we talked about when we talked about the 2017 Women's World Cup, because they were embarrassingly uncompetitive in those matches against the formidable teams of World 50 over cricket in the women's game, having reached the final just 4 years previously. So again, there has to be something that is wrong, whether the players are in a comfort zone, whether they're not being pushed to excel, because you're not getting the sense that there is that hunger and that desire, certainly from what you're seeing on the screen.
You know, I'm happy you had the placatory words that you did, because this is not Hayley Matthews bashing. What this is to question why is it that a player of undoubted talent, none of us was in space when she did what she did upon her arrival in cricket and how she helped to win a World Cup, so we know that the talent is there. But it seems to me, Fazeer Mohammed, as if the West Indies, with both men and women, something about West Indies cricket, we are specialists at stifling promising young talents and not allowing it to flourish. And I'm saying, with the start that Hayley Matthews had to her career, were she an Aussie, were she an Englishwoman, were she an Indian, it is highly likely that we were talking about these paltry numbers to her name, given the start that she had, if she had that start with those countries, because they would have helped her to go on to the next level and solidify her level of performances at an acceptable level. And before you come again, I just want my producers to give me her ODI numbers, her most recent ODI numbers, to just look at what we're talking about. We're talking about a young woman that is undoubtedly one of the most talented in world cricket. Yeah? 2018 to 29 ODI numbers. Yeah? Look at year by year. Look at those numbers. An average of 16 from 4 games last year. All right, not a big data set, but women don't play that much cricket anyway. 2018, 6 games, a batting average of 32, 2 wickets. 2017, 27 batting average from 10 games, 7 wickets. Yeah, give me the T20 numbers, the most recent T20 numbers. The most recent, all right, here we go. Batting average 2020, 7.25. Last year, 24. 2018, 23, 2017, 23. All right, you'll say not bad, but not special. The wickets column, only once has she had double figures in wickets, and well, she played a lot of games in 2018-13, and she took 11 wickets. I'm saying, Fazeer, if the raw material that is Hayley Matthews, as announced by her talent, can't be taken to another level, so clearly the numbers say she has not improved, why is it that West Indies cricket are such specialists in helping a cricketer to stagnate? And I'm saying, and I'm asserting to you, Fazeer, I doubt this would have happened if this talent were an Australian or an Englishwoman or even an Indian.
Well, it begs the obvious question, George, as to whether or not our environment, especially the women's environment, is competitive enough. Because as you said quite correctly, in India, Australia, New Zealand, certainly when you talk about those environments, those sort of performances would not have gone by unnoticed or would have been dealt with, whether or not there's enough competition in our women's game in the region to put pressure on a Hayley Matthews, to put pressure on a Stephanie Taylor, to put pressure on a Shemaine Campbell, to put pressure on so many of our players who have a wealth of experience, but they are not bringing that experience to bear as far as performance. And I looked at the parameters that you presented there, and I think what we also need to add to that, Joel, is that the parameters when it comes to T20 cricket, we talk about averages, yes, but I think strike rate is even more important in the T20 game than it is in the 50-over-a-side game. And looking to yesterday's contest, with the exception of Deandra Dottin, no player was striking the ball at better than a runner ball. And a runner ball is really your platform. Anything lower than that means that you're mediocre, if we're talking about T20 cricket. Compare that with England, and everyone who got a start, with the exception of Nat Siver and someone lower in the order, everyone was at a runner ball or better. So that tells you, and again, I understand the point that you're making about the averages, but in T20 cricket, if you've got someone who's, once they get in the middle, they're going to get you better than a runner ball, then there's a good chance that you're going to be competitive. But if you've got a situation now where only one player, as in yesterday's match, is going to be better than a runner ball, then more than likely you're going to lose. And that's why the West Indies women have lost 12 of the last 15.
Faz, and that begs now for us to bring into this discussion the fitness of this West Indies women's team. I looked at the group yesterday, and of course, so much misfielding, of course, even running between the wickets seemed to be a challenge. What did you think?
Well, of course, it's the easiest thing to appear to be beating up on a team that is in the midst of a trough. But listening to Andre Kohli, the coach of the team, ahead of the first T20 match, he said that, look, the preparation has been ideal. They feel they're at home in Derby, that they may almost have home advantage. But then again, you see what would appear to be, and again, I say appear to be, the comparative lack of athleticism compared to what we're seeing from England. And again, that's why you have to ask the question. And I know it's something that people might feel uncomfortable with. But this is elite sport. This is competitive sport. And again, in the same way that I like to draw the parallels about West Indies men's cricket and the very heights that we were at before we went slipping down the slope in Test cricket, certainly, and one day, as of course, in T20s, we're far more competitive. But in the women's game, we reached a final against Australia in India in 2013 in the 50-over World Cup. 2016, we won the final of the T20s against Australia. So we were regularly competitive up to just about a year and a half ago. And something has gone fundamentally wrong, which has something to do with whatever is going on in the team setup. Whatever it is not producing a competitive team.
Yeah, Faz, we want to emphasize the point here that the team has regressed. I know we focused on Hayley Matthews, who has really underperformed now for 2 or 3 years or so. But we have said this before, that so many of the players that are playing in this current team were part of that winning team in 2016. In fact, 7 of the players who played yesterday were on that winning team against the Aussies back in 2016. Dottin, Stephanie Taylor, there was Hayley Matthews, Shemaine Campbell, Brittany Cooper, Afi Fletcher, and Shamilia Connell. That's 7. And in the past year, 2 other players who were a part of that team, Anisa Mohammed and Stacey Ann King, have been a part of the setup. So we're not talking about new players who we're trying to rebuild. The same nucleus delivering today about 30% of what they delivered last in the World Cup winning effort. I see too, Faz, which you may comment on quickly before we go, a successive change of coaching panel since Sherwin Campbell left in 2015. We saw Vasper Drake's takeover. He won the World Cup with them. Then he was fired. Henry Springer got the job. Then Gus Logie got the job. And now Andre Kohli is a coach. So even from a coaching setup, there seems to be some discord there.
Doesn't that sound like the revolving door in the men's game, where we've had almost 14 or 15 different coaches over a 22-year period? So again, it seems that the same mistakes that have been made in the men's game, we're doing the same thing in the women's game with the added problem of a lack of funding. And that is one of the major concerns, that that there isn't that financial cushion to allow for the women's game to progress with resources to develop talent around the region, because we have that, we know that the talent discussion is a non-starter. The issue is that there's something that has to do with whatever is in the team setup, whether it's coach driven, whether it's something to do with the culture in the team, whether it's a comfort zone that is not pushing the players to excel. Whatever it is, Lance, George, and Mariah, the evidence is clear. And you mentioned it, Lance. You've got essentially the same players who are consistently underperforming. And it has to be something to do with the setup within the squad.
Yeah, class of students hugely promising at kindergarten, primary school, and high school, and then they make the step up to tertiary and they're all failing, and we continue doing the same things. It should be a Caribbean inquest as to how this team has gone backwards and how a player like Hayley Matthews has been allowed to stagnate right under our very eyes. It bothers me, I must tell you. But Fazeer, we'll talk another time. Thank you very much for sparing time to talk with us today.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. It's trust me, it bothers me.
Painful.
Yes, I can't believe this is the world champions T20 of 4 years ago, looking like some of them. You know what? Let's take the break.